Hello everyone, this is part 37 of What If Naruto Learned the Secret of Shadow Clone, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Tayuya was coming to the conclusion that she had a new respect for Naruto and his work ethic. Now that a week had passed since he had left to go train, she was doing her best to settle into her temporary role. Here and now she was sitting behind his desk working through paperwork while behind her a tired-looking En and a grinning Gosu stood guard. In front of them stood Team Neji, waiting to be assigned the next mission. Neji was doing his best to remain firm, while Kana bounced on her toes and Jin looked seconds away from falling asleep. Adjusting the bundled rifle at his shoulder, Neji reminded himself that they were one of Azushio's currently higher-ranking teams without being riptide. Maybe they would earn that promotion soon. Hopefully. With a miracle. Tayuya can see the twitch forming above the squad leader's eye and internally giggled, here. Pulling free and handing over a mission scroll, she waited for Neji to take it from her before continuing. There's a pretty large bandit camp that's set up shop within the eastern edge of the land of noodles. Take them out, completely. Nodding, Neji's expression doesn't change at all. Any special orders? None. Come back in one piece. Seeing Neji nod again, she waved him away and watched as they quickly strode from the office. Kana couldn't help but lean towards their team leader. Say, we're gonna be out there for a long time. How about we share a tent this time around, huh? Huh. Jin sighed, it's too early for you. Can't you keep it in your pants at least until noon? But I have to keep the pressure on. I'm making headway. I think a stone has a better chance to learn how to swim. You dare mock my womanly charms. You're a woman. The sound of flesh smacking flesh followed him out the door. Rolling her eyes as the team leaves, Tayuya sets to start on a new batch of paperwork, something involving the ninja port. From the intercom Hinata's voice called out, Fu, Naruto and Ino are on the way in. Pressing the button to respond, Tayuya nodded on reflex, I'm free, send them. Door bouncing open not a second later, the trio walks in with Ino leading the way. Fu is dressed in her normal white and red attire, short skirt and tank top over chain mail. Naruto was much as she was before, black pants with a black half-length jacket and an orange tube top. Idly, she spotted a fresh pair of white ninja sandals on Fu's feet and smiled. It was a little change but a good one. Ino stopped before the desk and saluted with a grin, how's it Tayuya? Getting used to it yet? I will bury you somewhere in the coastal sands. Ooh. Touchy. Ino was still grinning, teeth flashing in the morning light. With a sigh, Tayuya pulled free a mission scroll that had been set aside just for them. They had gotten a request, from Konoha of all places. Something that if he was here, Naruto would have probably rushed out to complete it himself. There's been an incident in Konoha. One of their prisoners led a breakout and several inmates are now on the run. All ninja. That got everyone's attention and Tayuya continued, they're still in the land of fire for now, but apparently they're headed for Rice. Naruto is the first to speak up as Ino takes the scroll, who's the ringleader in all this. Having looked over the file beforehand, Tayuya didn't need to read through it like Ino was doing currently. Hey, some asshole named Mizuki. Blinking, Naruto tries to wonder at her, or maybe Naruto's luck. Mizuki, on the run. And she got to go after him. The grin that blossomed on her face was feral enough to have Ino unconsciously edge away from her even if she couldn't see her. We supposed to bring him back alive? Nope. Capture if you want, kill if you have to. Just bring back the prisoner IDs if you do. Or some proof, you understand. Tayuya didn't let the mouth with too many teeth creep her out. That was Ino's headache. Remember, bring back the prisoner tags at the minimum. Naruto was nodding while mentally making plans and plots. Oh, don't worry. Mizuki is in for a treat and a half. Kakukaku. Fu sighs, trying and failing to distract her girlfriend. You're going to eat him in the end, aren't you? The dark chuckle that answered her told her more than enough. Do I want to know what he did to you in the past? Ino could answer that one at least. Mizuki plotted and used Naruto to steal the forbidden scroll from Konoha before attempting to frame him and then kill him. Naruto learned the shadow clone jutsu from the scroll, beat the shit out of Mizuki, and brought him in. Ino shrugged. Apparently Mizuki hated Naruto for a long time and always planned on sabotaging his progress. Fu gained an understanding look before nodding with a smile. Oh, so he deserves to be eaten then. Okay. So long as it was deserved, Fu didn't care. Tayuya can agree with that, then get going. Don't take any risks, and Naruto, flash out if there's an emergency. Turning with the rest of the girls, Naruto nods, sure. Remind me when we return, I've got to teach the rest of you how to use the Hiraishin while Naruto is gone. Getting a nod from Tayuya, the three are soon gone and out of the door. Sighing and resting for a moment, Tayuya gave the door a bored look. Sure wish I could go hunt down Rogue Ninja and have some fun. Clearing his through, and gains her attention. I'm sure running the village will keep you busy enough. There are plenty of things Lord Naruto wouldn't approve, trivial things, that you could get around to. Tayuya thinks about that for a minute before the light bulb goes off in her head. That's right. Naruto had been putting off that statue the citizens wanted to build of him. She could finally give an okay for it. Where would they put it though? Maybe outside of the train station. Chuckling, Tayuya begins to hunt for that form, knowing Naruto stashed it away somewhere instead of tossing it. Behind her, Gosu fist bumps N with a grin. Keeping to herself while Karui and Omoi talk together quietly, Sumui thought back on their relatively easy journey from Kumo to Iwa as they now entered through the main gate of the reclusive village. Frost had been quiet, even more so than usual. The word on the road was they were a new member of the Azushio Alliance, and were recovering with aid from Spring. The elusive Azukage was rumored to have been the one to deal with the previous cowardly and greedy Frost Daimyo. Sumui tried hard not to imagine that scenario, but failed. It was the same story through the land of hot water, where they talked about the one who saw the truth in whispers. Like he was a ghost who would find you if you lied or did wrong. Rice, down into fire, and through grass, the only place so far that didn't talk about him, Sumui was constantly being reminded about the strong and nearly legendary ninja who was building a reputation as both powerful, but kind. What do ya think, Sumui? What does the Rakage want with Iwa? Karu's voice broke her from her thoughts, the dark-skinned girl grinning as she stretched her arms above her head. She made sure to keep her hands far away from the sword hilt peeking over her right shoulder. They were in a ninja village after all. Didn't want to make anyone nervous. Most likely the situation with the new Azushio nation. Whether to open talks I'd assume. Sumui was a thinker, always had been. And with her ground-level knowledge, that was the most realistic conclusion she could come up with. Boring. Karui pauses for a moment as she watches her team leader walk along, one hand coming up to rub her shoulder. Say, how's the dating life going? Find anyone worth your time yet? Someone strong enough to catch my attention. I wonder. Sumui was currently thinking about one ninja in particular, but unless Kumo and Azushio came to some agreement, that most likely wasn't going to happen. Karui has a different thought about it. Maybe if the Rakage gets his way and captures the QB container, you can have a go or two with him. Karui didn't particularly care about it one way or another. She didn't get a say in who she got to have fun with. In the future, she knew she would most likely be having a run with the Uzumaki Scion if Kumo captured him. Of course that was who Sumui had been thinking of, but as more and more stories piled up, Sumui had less confidence that the Rakage would be having his way. Like Yugito and Killer Bee had come to their own conclusions that a confrontation was not the best of ideas, Sumui was having the same thoughts. In her own mind of course, because that would amount to treason in their village. Instead she went along with her subordinate, certainly can't get much stronger than the Biju container of the strongest Biju in the land. She would prefer something built on more common ground. But she did have her own goals. He is pretty cool. Omoi came up on her other side with his hands deep in his pockets. Think the Rakage will fight the QB himself or make B do it? Sumui shrugs, the motion reminding her to loosen her chainmail again later. It's doubtful the Rakage alone will be able to take down the QB. Killer Bee would have to get involved. Unintentionally voicing her inner thoughts, she misses the contemplative look on Omoi's face. You know, betting against the Rakage is almost treasonous. Omoi was joking of course, but it meant something that Sumui had faith that the QB would put up that much of a fight. He had heard the stories as well, and while some of them seemed so outrageous it bordered on fantasy. Well, they did happen by the easily named Glass Lake. Sumui shrugs again. This is the maelstrom we're talking about. The man who's been running around destroying sound bases with impunity. Who, if rumor serves, killed Orochimaru of the Densetsu no Sanin. Who even B said he wouldn't want to get into a fight with. So cool, Sumui said to herself mentally. A man who claims to be able to wipe out villages on a whim, and there is physical evidence to prove it. Trust me. If bedding him was a better choice to ensure peace between our villages as opposed to fighting, I sure wouldn't mind that mission, for the good of Kumo of course. Yes, for the good of Kumo, her village. Not at all because she was gaining some personal interest in him. No, not at all. Karui scoffs at that. I'm sure the Raikage and B could take down the maelstrom all on their own easy. It's why he stays in hiding so much. She picks at the worn sleeve of her grey tunic. Punk is probably weak. Sumui raises an eyebrow at that as the administration building comes into view. You know. You're technically betting against a member of your blood relation. Irritated to have her heritage brought up, Karui waves a hand in front of her as if to ward off evil. I'm a ninja of Kumo, built and raised to love and defend my home. I have no connection to the Uzumaki or their home village. I know my place, and that's in Kumo. Sumui nods while mentally sighing. As a child of the Uzumaki breeding program, one of the few that has survived so far, Karu's upbringing had been a bit better than most. Of course, that was until she reached maturity and found out that she hadn't inherited any of the Uzumaki's well-known traits besides the hair color. Once that had happened, she had been dumped off as just an ordinary Kumo ninja like the rest of them. Sumui didn't want to surmise that Karui may be bitter about that, but Karui certainly didn't want to be compared to or lumped in with the Uzumaki. Especially those in Kumo. Everyone knew they were treated as barely above cattle. Reaching the building, Sumui leads the way inside while being directed by internal staff. Let's get this over with so we can return quickly. Maybe if we're fast, we can stop off in the land of hot water like last time. Her back had never been better since that tracking mission. Too bad she couldn't take another like it. Karui pumped an excited fist in the air. Hell yeah, time off. Omoi rolled his eyes. You just wanna be lazy. It was easy to dodge the fist that sailed his way, a grin on his face as he taunted Karui. Had to keep himself entertained somehow. Of course, making their way to the Tsuchikage's office and standing at attention after handing over the letter from the Raikage, Team Sumui was bored out of their minds. Onoki takes his time reading the letter over, grumbling about impatient young men while before finally scoffing and tossing the letter away. Well fine, I see A is his usual headstrong self. Better send you lot back with a real response then. Pen and paper out, Onoki gets to writing. Iwa and Kumo have a joint interest for once, so I'll be agreeing to this tentative partnership for now. Even more now that they were unable to contact Roshi or Han. With both of their Jinchuriki missing, they needed some insurance. That gets a start from Omoi and Karui, while Sumui mentally wonders at what the old man means. What was in that letter, she wondered. Mumbling to himself, Onoki kept right along with his writing. Let your cage know what we'll be opening up regular communications from here on. Finishing his letter after a few minutes, he rolls it up and closes it with his personal seal before handing it back to Sumui, who bows low to him. A warning as well. Onoki waits for Sumui and the others to face him completely again. With this agreement, Kumo may be approached by a certain group bearing red clouds. Reminder not to be his usual self and to give them an audience. It's for the good of all of the elemental nations. Sumui nods. Of course, Lord Tsuchikage, it will be as you say. See that it is. You're dismissed. Team Sumui all bow before turning and leaving the office the way they had come. Sumui was mentally going through what this could all be about while slipping the scroll into her clothes. Iwa and Kumo were going to partner for something. A group bearing red clouds. Were Iwa and Kumo going to team up for some campaign? It must be a zoo then, as they were the only new variable to present themselves. That was unfortunate. Could the new nation stand up against two of the oldest nations combined? Karui speaks up as they reach outside. What was that last part about? A group with red clouds. Sumui is still deep in thought and responds without meaning to, Akatsuki, a mercenary group currently on hire to anyone who can pay. They include members who are all legendary Nukanen from just about all of the largest villages short of Kumo. Missing as Karui and Omoi begin to talk back and forth about the group, Sumui herself worries. Kumo would normally never work with such a group, so why now? What sort of path was her village taking and was it worth it? Because this was turning into more than just collecting a Jinchuriki. Maybe Yugito would be back by the time they returned, so we needed someone else level-headed to talk with. B. Groaning as he drops himself to the dirt, Naruto scrubs his head as Fukasaku calls for a break during their training. Currently situated on the bank of the training pools, Fukasaku walks away while rubbing his back and a curious Jiraiya sits nearby to watch on. You're going to run me ragged tadpole. I need a break. Naruto grins and flexes an arm. I have a family to get back to, old man, so I'm in a hurry. Jiraiya can't help but chime in, all young men are in a hurry. Never fails. Fukasaku chuckles and points at Jiraiya, you weren't much different back then either, boyo. Or come on pa, don't bring that up. Grumbling as the old toad starts to cackle as he continues on his way, Jiraiya turns to Naruto as the boy summons the Uzumaki scroll. Goal or not, Naruto, this training can take years of effort. Even I'm still not perfect with it. Shrugging, Naruto settles in for his reading, maybe I'm just built different. Just watch, I won't fail in this. Focusing on his reading, he misses Jiraiya coming over to look over his shoulder. What's this all about? Jiraiya was trying to figure out the seal and squiggles that passed for writing, but Naruto seemed to have no problem reading along. Must be due to his eye. Currently I'm reading about the Uzumaki clan and how they feared some great evil would return to the planet and that they were making plans to face it. It mentions techniques they developed to combat it, but I haven't gotten much further than that yet. Naruto was curious more than anything. A god tree, energy conversion, fruit of life, a juubi. It was all so fanciful it just couldn't be real. But here it was, in writing. Staring him in the face. It's real, kid. All of it. Well shit. Naruto grumbled mentally as Kurama confirmed it. Just what he needed, more headaches. Sounds like something I can blow up at least. For once, I agree. Jiraiya leans back to rub his chin. Do they say what the techniques are? Not really, it's fuzzy, hard to read. But I'm getting better with it daily. Which was true, even now he could read more than he could yesterday. Jiraiya notes Naruto's changing right eye and mentally chalks it up to that. It had to revolve around his Rinnegan. Maybe after your training is complete here with the toads, we can take that world tour. Could be fun, after I check in with the girls and spend some time with them. Checking around the nations and building more allies wouldn't hurt after all. Sobering up as he looks at a smiling Jiraiya who is mentally making plans on which brothel to visit first, Naruto frowns, hey. What do you know about the seal my dad put on me? Pausing in his thoughts, Jiraiya considers what he should or shouldn't say to the teen. Still riddled with guilt, it was quick and easy to decide to fess up about the truth. Naruto deserved that much. Just like the Rasengan, your seal was incomplete as well, designed so that one day you would finish it. When you finish your sage training you should be at a level to do just that. Jiraiya crossed his legs and sat across from Naruto. There are a lot of stories about your dad you deserve to know about, and I'll get around to telling you about each and every one. That's a promise. Naruto nods. Yeah, you should have done that already, but kicking your ass over it won't solve anything. Seeing the hopeful look on Jiraiya's face, Naruto crushes his hopes right away. I'll just have Granny Suna do it for me. Brat, I thought we were having a moment. We are, just need to remind you that I can kick your ass. Hey Jiraiya boyo, come here for a moment. Standing with a grunt, Jiraiya nods, sure thing pa, what's up? Walking away, Naruto is left alone with his thoughts. He considers that his theory was correct in that the seal was meant to be finished. Kurama was intentionally split in half for a reason, which, with his knowledge of seals now, was most likely because having all of the biju in a baby would have killed him. Not fun. But now older, and having trained hard, he could support the full weight of Kurama's chakra. You probably could have done that a while ago. You've strengthened and improved much faster than I ever would have dreamed of. Diving into his mindscape now that he had a minute, Naruto stood before Kurama. Well, I did promise I would become the strongest man alive one day. The strongest biju deserves the strongest container. Brat, I've told you before, that's not necessary anymore. I know, how about? I'm going to keep getting stronger, to protect those that I love. I like that goal better. You with me then? Sure thing kid, right here by your side. Kurama pauses as he seems to think something over. I'm glad I decided to trust you, back then. I'm glad as well. You're a good friend, Kurama. Kurama stares at the grinning Naruto quietly for a time, gauging him before holding up a fist between the bars of the seal. It's good to be able to call you a friend as well, Naruto. Coming forward, Naruto bumps fists with Kurama. Just you wait, we've got a lot of crazy shit to get into. Jiraiya and Fukasaku have paused, vision drawn to Naruto, who looked for all purposes to be meditating at the moment, sitting cross-legged while poring over his scroll. Eyes closed and breathing deep, his body was glowing just slightly orange. Jiraiya leaned closer to the elder. Is he supposed to be doing that? Fukasaku shakes his head before a thin smile graces his face. No. But it's a good step in the right direction. Glow vanishing, Naruto turns back to Jiraiya. Hey old man. Know anything about why my dad might seal a portion of my mom inside of me? Blinking with surprise, Jiraiya shakes his head. No. But that's something Minato definitely would do. He had a weird talent for seals like a natural-born Uzumaki. Naruto nods before turning back to the scroll. I hope I get a chance to talk to her. I wonder what she thinks of me, of what I've done. Jiraiya walks forward to cuff him on the shoulder. She'd love you and totally support everything you've done up till now. Don't you fret one bit about that. Jiraiya grins some more at the boy who is looking up to him. You're just as crazy and airheaded as she was. You'd get along great. Rolling his eyes and deciding to get back to reading, Naruto tunes out the old pervert. Behind him, Fukasaku feels like he's given him enough time to rest and starts to make his way back over. Hope you're ready, kid. Time to get back to it. Luck was no longer needed. This boy was going to complete this training, one way or another. B. Sprinting through the forests of the land of fire, Fu, Naruto and Ino are hot on the trail of the escapees from Konoha. Fu had pulled her weight, tracking them from the air and finding that their trail ended within a cave along the Fire Nation border with Rice. Nestled within a small ravine, the only way in or out was using chakra to climb the walls. Dropping from the trees and making their way to the edge of the cliff, Ino frowns as she considers what to do. I know we're calling this a mission, but this is also so Naruto can get her chakra boosted back to full. Ino tries not to think about what might be happening in a minute, but shrugs and decides these convicts deserved what they were about to get. Especially Mizuki. Fu makes a face and slightly sticks out her tongue while Naruto steps forward while cracking her knuckles. Might be best to let me go it alone from here. Rather you not see what I'm about to do. Fu places a hand at Naruto's elbow, forcing her to pause. Are you sure you won't need any help? Naruto shakes her head, senses pushing out to track her targets. They're in a cave where it's going to be super dark. The perfect place for someone like me. Naruto thumps her chest with her other hand. I'm not Naruto. I have my own way of messing with people. Ino nods while standing and putting her hands on her hips. All right. We'll stand guard and wait here. Make this quick so we can get back to Azushio. Naruto gives Fu a quick hug before descending the ravine wall. Gotcha. I'll be back before you know it. Focusing some as she walks calmly towards the cave entrance, she considers her options. She needed to conserve chakra, so heavy fighting was out of the question. But she had to subdue several people all at once. How could she accomplish that? Touching down after feeling no one was near the mouth of the cave, Naruto walks her way inside and into the dark. Within a few meters she's shrouded in darkness and the idea hits her. Using her wind nature affinity that Naruto had trained to its highest potential, she begins to pull the very air from the cave itself. This was probably the safest way to do this. Small enclosed space with no exit. Well, humans needed to breath but she sure didn't. As the minutes ticked by and the chakra signatures she could feel ahead of her dropped off, with a grin she let up and made her way deeper into the cave. Beyond the first bend she finds there are two men posted as guards, passed out on the ground and weakened. Dressed in grey jumpsuits and missing shoes, they look like the descriptions given for the escapees. Leaning down and confirming that they were indeed the escaped prisoners by snagging their prison tags, she grabs both of them and begins to drag them along behind her in one hand by their ankles. Feels like one of them is still up, if barely. Wonder if that's Mizuki. Mumbling to herself as she stumbles upon two more men, she gives them the same treatment and drags them along with their friends. Hands now full, she wonders more if Mizuki will be able to put up a fight. Before her opens up a larger chamber, darkened due to all of the torches having been snuffed out from the lack of oxygen. Dropping the group of 4 behind her and having no problems seeing in the dark, her glowing red eyes settle upon the panting and kneeling form of Mizuki. He sure did bulk up in prison, didn't he? He was surrounded by another 3 individuals, 2 women and another smaller man, but all 3 were down and out. Huh, so cockroaches really can survive anywhere, can't they? Light-headed and delirious, Mizuki tries and fails to pierce the darkness of the cave with his eyes. Who's there? Panting hard and trying to catch his breath, he fights to remain conscious. Whoever this woman was, he was going to make her pay. Giggling and realizing the man can't see her, Naruto considers her options. This wouldn't be fun at all if he couldn't see just who was going to end him. Oh dear, Whittle Mizuki can't see in the dark. Let's fix that. Removing a suppression seal and slapping it on the large man's chest, she releases her hold on the air around them. Life-giving oxygen comes rushing back into the room and with agonizing slowness, she moves to relight the torches. Hey there Mizuki, remember me? Frowning as his body was locked in place, he blinks rapidly as the first torch is relit. Taking a moment to adjust, Mizuki frowns as he sets his sight on the demon itself walking around the room. You little shit. How did you find me? Oh, you know, really talented friends who are good at tracking. Another torch is lit while Naruto offers a glowing red eye to Mizuki. You should feel honored, I could have killed you without letting you know who did it. Confused on why the brat was running around as a woman, Mizuki grunts as he tries and fails to force his body to move. I see you're finally showing your true nature now. Going to be the monster you really are. I always knew you were nothing but garbage. Shrugging and walking around the circular chamber to light another torch, Naruto doesn't offer a refute. You're not entirely wrong. I am something different now. Walking around back to the entrance and facing him, she grins as she strips off her jacket, shirt, and chainmail. Wouldn't do to get her clothes dirty. I changed a lot since the last time you've seen me. Smirking, Mizuki's mind goes in a complete different, and wrong, direction as the expanse of young perky flesh is offered before him. Is that what this is all about? You really went through all of this to make a pass at me? Scoffing, Mizuki smirks, I'm flattered. Really, I wouldn't mind a taste of you before I kill you. Unless you're good, I might keep you around. Naruto begins to make her shift, luxuriating in watching the naked lust on Mizuki's face melt away into abject horror. Smiling wider than any human could ever hope to, hair lengthening and thickening into tendrils, her eyes glow brighter than the dim torchlight around them. Oh no Mizuki-sensei. No. Voice deep and guttural at the end, she enjoys the quiver Mizuki's body makes. Stalking forward slowly, she watches as Mizuki soils himself even frozen as he is. WH, what the fuck? What are you? Monster. Stay away. Stay away. Chuckling darkly, Naruto hauls him closer to her with her hair, mouth and chest beginning to open. What's wrong Mizuki? I thought you wanted a taste. A tongue, long and wet trails along his cheek. Are you afraid? Mizuki has tears trailing down his cheeks as his mind is locked on those demonic glowing red eyes, quickly losing himself to madness. I asked you a question, are you afraid? A scream echoes out from the cave, where outside Fu and Ino can just barely make it out. Ino has settled into a squat, finger trailing in the grass as they wait. She better make this quick. It's boring just sitting and waiting. Looking over at Fu sitting at the ravine's edge and kicking her feet in the air over the chasm, Ino voices her own concern. Are you worried? About Naruto, that is. Fu shakes her head quickly, green hair flying this way and that. No. Naruto only does this to bad people. And I know she isn't a monster. If anything it's like nature. Like a wolf eating a deer. Ino chuckles. Naruto might like that description. The idea of Naruto being more in tune with nature was an odd one. Maybe they could ask Jugo about it. He did naturally use nature chakra after all. Fu nods. My NA-chan is the best. I wish I could keep up with her. You, everyone is so strong. If I didn't have my Biju, where would I really be? Ino shuffles her way over to the other girl, sitting next to her and nudging her shoulder with her own. None of that now. I'm sure if you ask, all of us would be willing to train with you. And if you're worried, I'm sure Naruto would have a blast training with you too. He's a freak like that. I don't know how much it would help, but I should give it a shot. He is carrying the strongest biju after all. Plus, Naruto was Naruto's big brother. It'd be best if Fu got along with him as well. She should spend time with him, get to know him. Ino nods, don't worry, yeah he's big into explosions, but he does know how to fight normally. He can help ya out. Or be a good punching bag. He had done much of the same for all of them once or twice when they had an idea they wanted to try. Being able to spam clones was certainly always a plus. Giggling, Fu shakes her head, if he's as strong as everyone says, he'll probably turn me into a punching bag. Both girls banter back and forth for a bit before they hear sandals scraping against rock. Turning back, they see a happy Naruto waving at them with a bag in one hand along with several ID tags. Yo. Ino grumbles, yup, more like Naruto than she wants to admit. Fu is up, bouncing her way to Naruto's side, all done. Naruto nods, holding up the bag, they were hiding away some Ryo too. So with both money and chakra, I'm all set for a good while. Mizuki alone had filled her up decently. The others had been like a good desert. She should last for a few months if she didn't have to fight or anything. Ino is up next, already making her way back to the trees, good to hear. Let's get back then. We'll probably keep you within Azushio then so you don't tax yourself. Fu giggles and latches onto Naruto's free arm, you're such a good little chakra vampire. Naruto leans into the woman she loved, oh don't worry. Here she whispered into Fu's ear, I'll show you how good of a vampire I am later on. Ino shakes her head as she jumps away, Kami, get a room. Naruto and Fu jump after her, we plan on it. Naruto latches onto Ino and they flash away. Back to Azu for some deserved rest. B. Standing before the Mizukage, I was reading off of a clipboard a report from a scout squad that had returned from one of the surrounding islands. In short, there have been strange rumblings and chakra flares from the last battle site of Yagura Karatachi. Nothing has been found yet, but all scout squads have reported that same feeling of unease when they enter the area. May nods, leaning back in her chair and thinking quickly, could the Sanbi already be reforming? So quickly. No sightings of the tailed beast. None as of yet, but it is most likely that the Biju has returned. Seeing May's frown deepen, Al poses his own question, will we attempt to retrieve it and reseal it into one of our ninja? Shaking her head firmly, May rebukes that right away, no. I won't continue that vulgar practice. Never mind that we don't have the resources to do so or a Jinchuriki candidate. No. May thinks more. What could they do about this? If word got out, that would mean another country, like Kumo, coming in and trying to capture the Sanbi for themselves. Well, they were building an alliance with a nation that was gifted with sealing. I'll give Iwagakure a call. In order to build trust and repay some of the sins of our past, we'll let them handle this. Al was a bit shocked with May's decision, even if her points about their ability to seal the monster were valid. Is that wise, my lady? Nodding, May smirks, thanks to the revival of the Uzumaki and the rebuilding of Azushio, the age of relying on the Jinchuriki to be the balance of power might be at an end. No, I'd rather make moves to secure our allies and friendship than try to play for power right now. Al bows deeply, as you say, my lady. Will you require anything else? Not for now, you're dismissed, Al. Seeing the stern man turn and leave, May relaxes a bit as she considers her options. Send a messenger. No. This was urgent. Turning and standing, she walks to a dark monitor along her wall and keys a few buttons on a keyboard below it. Typing away, the monitor comes to life, giving off dull blue light before with a few more key presses a surprised Taiuya is there displayed before her. Hello there. I'm looking for Uzumaki-sama, the Azukage. Taiuya nods, this is his office but he's away for some business, I'm standing in for now. I'm Taiuya Uzumaki, remember me? Ah yes, hello sister, are you well? Never hurt to drop a few hints along the way. As well as we can be here. Always busy and never enough time. Taiuya chuckled and waved a hand to dispel May's worry. I'm good and so is everyone else. What's with the call? Something urgent. May takes a minute to consider how she should word things before nodding, yes well. We here in Kiri need your particular skill set. The Sanbi has reformed. May winks at her, I'd consider it a big favor if the Uzumaki could lend a hand in this. You could even consider the Biju yours if you capture it. Taiuya's eyes widen and she blinks rapidly, you don't say. Okay big sis, Tell me more. Internally smiling and doing a dance, Mei externally crosses her arms. I'll send the detailed location, but within one of our islands our scouts have reported massive disturbances. Chakra flares that no human could hope to be responsible for. Tayuya nods. A biju on the loose could spell some serious trouble. Tayuya closes her eyes as she seems to think on it before resolutely staring at Mei. I'll send 2 teams over. You can give them details and the location once they arrive. Thank you, the help is appreciated. Mei smirks just a tad. It would be nice if Uzumaki-sama could stop by for a visit sometime. I'm sure he would love to visit the land of water at least once. Sighing and getting the unspoken message, Tayuya nods. When he returns I'll pass along the message. I'm sure he'd love to visit Kiri for a meeting between Cage. Splendid, we'll be in touch. Mei waves as Tayuya ends the call and finally she relaxes and does a little dance while no one is watching. She ensured her people would be safe, she strengthened ties between the 2 nations, and she'd be getting a visit by the young and hunky Azukage as well. All wins in her book. Now, should she plan a wardrobe change for his visit? Maybe she should have options. A good kunoichi fought with all of her available assets after all. And love was a battlefield all its own. The toads of Mount Myoboku had gotten used to the hours upon hours of flesh-smacking flesh and youthful screams of an exuberant young man in training. Thankfully for their sanity today they were given a reprieve. Now beginning to get the hang of drawing in natural energy and molding it properly with his chakra and achieving sage mode, Fukasaku had instructed him to spend as much time as possible within that form. So today he had plenty of time to dive into the Uzumaki scroll and learn as much as he could. Leaned against a sleeping Gamakichi who was against his back, while ignoring one of his smaller and younger cousins sleeping in his hair, Naruto continued his training in peace. I wonder how everyone else is doing. Thinking to himself while pausing in his reading, Naruto considers things. Jiraiya had returned to Konoha a few days ago, wanting to check on things he said though Naruto was sure it was to bug Tsunade and be a pervert. Naruto had wanted to send clones to check on Azushio and the girls, but Fukasaku had expressly forbid that. What would he do if he learned of some event back home? It would break his concentration or worse might see him quit so he could go run to the rescue. No, Naruto needed to be fully mentally here. Which left the teen a little anxious. But, he did have to admit that his recent training had helped him understand some things better. First, he had figured out the full reason for his recent mood imbalance. With Naruto born and now her own person, his yin and yang chakra mix was off, much like Kurama's own. It would even out over time, or, he could regulate it himself, whichever one happened first. Kurama grumbles from his mind, you're thinking too loudly. Shut up. You really are old, all you do is complain and sleep. Find me a battlefield so I can do something else then. Quit maid. Kurama sobers up for a moment, you should be able to even out your chakra with your abilities granted by the Rinnegan now. It does give you not only access to all of the major elements, but also yin and yang release. Naruto considers that for a moment before nodding, I'll get on that then. I need to experiment with everything I have at my disposal. It has fully matured finally, so have at it, break the world. Kurama could feel Naruto's confusion like a literal slap. The toads haven't mentioned it and you haven't seen a mirror in a while, but yeah, your Rinnegan is complete. Naruto began to chuckle darkly as he mentally planned all the heinous retribution he was going to level on Kumo when he got back. Thanks buddy. Don't mention it. Naruto continues his previous train of thought, wondering now with his better understanding of nature chakra and the ability to feel it himself, if he should begin working on upgrading Tayuya's seal. And, with his new knowledge, give the rest of the girls the same seal personalized for them. Would they all grow extra muscle or cute horns like Tayuya? That broke his concentration and he could feel the sage chakra leave him. Grunting and recentering himself, Naruto started again with less dirty thoughts about his wives this time. You might be worrying about 'em too much. Do they really need the power up? Kurama almost gagged asking that, but for once he was thinking about more than just power for power's sake. Becoming the strongest also means permanently having a target on your back. Naruto understood that thought as well, never hurts to be prepared. And besides, why do you think I left Konoha alone in the long run? That caused the elder Biju to blink quietly from within his cage. You left him alone on purpose. As what? Bait. Chuckling and nodding, Naruto explained his reasoning. Konoha has always been the biggest and baddest threat to the other nations. They were the standard. So long as they are around, more people will be worried about them, not us. At least, until we really show what we can do. Laughing and banging a fist against the floor of the seal, Kurama had to hand it to the kid. He wasn't all just explosions. You really are as unpredictable as ever. Just don't tell Bar-chan. I'm gonna convince her to leave that place one day for sure. Naruto didn't want to leave Tsunade behind like that. Sure, the old woman wasn't around much like Jiraiya wasn't. But Tsunade wasn't obligated to be, and she had kept her word to him, unlike everyone else in leadership at that village. He owed her a warning at the least if things went south. But back to what I was thinking about, sure the seal is a bastardized sage mode, but I can at least make it safer and give it to the others. Maybe improve on it. I'll bring it up with the girls when we return. Don't overdo it, or you'll be in a different kind of trouble. Behind them and unnoticed, Fukasaku observes the boy meditating and exuding a light orange glow. It's still not complete, but he's almost there. Training will be over soon. Mumbling to himself, the elder is mightily impressed with the work ethic of the young teen. The kid had already figured out how to shorten his time for collecting nature chakra, using clones to collect the necessary energy. Now recently he had begun talking about using seals to accomplish the same feat, bloody Uzumaki and their seals. But, he had to hand it to the boy. This new generation thought in ways Fukasaku's own could never even dream of. Watching as the glow intensifies just a tad, the elder shakes his head and walks away, giving Naruto some more time to himself. Kurama however has to mention something to Naruto, wondering if the boy had noticed it himself. You know, as strong as you are now, you're just about a mini Biju all on your own. Oh yeah, Naruto felt about himself, reaching deep within the ocean that was his chakra. Huh. I haven't been fighting lately, so I guess I didn't notice. You could probably one-shot Shukaku as you are now, without your seals. Which was a mighty large improvement over the boy who had first changed his path in life by walking into a library all that time ago. What was it, 3 or 4 years now? Outwardly Naruto grins, canines sharp as his adrenaline pumps. I wouldn't mind being counted among you and your kin. I'd consider it an honor. Kurama nods. Hey, I wouldn't mind calling you a brother as well, brat. Even if you're just another horny monkey most days. Want me to stop? Never said that. Kurama considered cutting himself off from whatever pleasures he could get and shivered. No thank you. Life was great right now. B. It was evening in the land of water, and Riptide Team 2 was on the hunt for the Sanbi. Hinata, Ino, Karen and Honoka were together this time. Tayuya still stuck back home while the foursome got to take on this particular mission. Having been updated by the Mizukage and given the general area of where the Biju should be, they were traveling through a misty forest while keeping the guard up. Because while sure Kiri wanted nothing to do with the beast, not wanting another Yugara incident, they weren't the only ones out looking for it. Mei had warned them that Kumo had been sniffing around, and of course Konoha might be in the area as well. Karen, hair tight in a bun and glasses covered by goggles on the off chance she had to hit the water, grunted as they sprinted along. You know, did we really need all 4 of us for this? Me and Honoka are more than enough for the Sanbi with our chains. They had been training and practicing non-stop recently and considered themselves well improved. Today would be a good field test of that. Ino shrugs. The Sanbi isn't the big worry of the day. Everyone else is. Hinata and I are your guards while you seal it away for us to take back home. Which was why they were in a hurry. Get in and get out as quickly as possible. With any luck they could sneak through without encountering anyone. So don't worry. I've got your backs. Hinata mirrored her thoughts as well. We'll be taking care of you and making sure no one interferes. She hoped no one from Konoha showed up. She'd hate to have to get rough with them. Kumo on the other hand. Honoka sighed as Hinata began to chuckle darkly. I think Hinata been pumped full of a little too much, Naruto-kun. Maybe this time away will fix her. Ino shook her head. Naruto has thoroughly knocked her marbles loose. There's no saving her. I can hear you, you know that right. Ino grinned. Oh, I'm sorry. Thought you couldn't hear us over the sound of all that mass jumping around. She delighted as Hinata gave her the finger, long way away from the meek little wallflower from the academy who couldn't even talk to her crush. Nudging her friend as they ran, Hinata sniffed, "I'd like to think I'm well adjusted these days." "Oh yeah. Tell me, what are your plans for Kumo?" "I'm thinking of castrating the Raikage with my Juken and then making him watch as Naruto blasts away his village." The three remaining girls all looked at each other, before a quiet Karen gave her a thumbs up. "Uzumaki approves." Ino sighed, "I can't be the only sane one left. I can't." Karen giggled as her senses began to tingle. "Don't act like you haven't been planning on scrambling the man's brain until he thinks his name is Mud." Ino saw the twitch on Karen's face and started to pull her mask free, a motion copied by the others. "That's besides the point, he has it coming." Karen nods, Blue Hanya mask in place, which was copied by Honoka in order to boost their barrier-making abilities. 3 signatures ahead, one at least high Jonin, one low Jonin, and someone maybe Chunin. It's an odd chakra signature. As the group's sensor nin, Karen had been on alert since leaving Kirigakure proper. Ino nods, the Kirinin have a low presence here, so don't expect any help from them. They really do want as little to do with the Sanbi as possible. Hinata sighs as she activates her eyes behind her oakum mask, thinking about it, Kumo is the closest major village. They would be the first ones available besides us to come and try to steal the Biju. They would also have the most motivation outside of Konoha. Still keeping to the trees though they were beginning to thin out, Karen speaks up as her mind begins to find some of the area familiar. There might be another problem. Feeling everyone else's eyes on her, she kept going. Sound had a base out here. Don't know what happened to it and we never had the chance to come and raid it. Slipped our minds since it's a smaller base. Ino nods at that. Any real chance we'll have a problem with them? Karen shakes her head immediately. No, well. She thought about the sound base that had been raided by Kumo previously and cursed, unless Kumo came and raided this base as well. That might throw a wrench in things. Then they'd have people to spare to seal away the Sanbi. Ino sighs at that. We already know Kumo doesn't consider anyone not of Kumo anything more than a tool, so I wouldn't put it past them to sacrifice a lot of lives if it meant getting the Sanbi. Hinata grunts, just another horrific reason as to why we should level that village as soon as Naruto returns. Agreed. That the word was said by 3 other women nearly at the same time sent them all into giggles before they focused again. They crest the top of a hill, tree cover thinning even more and forcing them to the ground where they could see a group of 3 less than a few hundred meters away from them. Consisting of 1 man, a woman and a young boy, Hinata can see a Kumo headband on the man and none on the other 2. The man is from Kumo, can't see an affiliation for the other 2. Ino leans close to Hinata. Can we go around, avoid them? Karen shakes her head. I can feel the Sanbi, it's directly ahead. No detour to be made. Honoka comes to Karen's other side, so it's a fight then. Ino nods, we could always try negotiation. Maybe if they see they're outnumbered they'll leave. You know they won't. Hinata mumbles from Ino's side. The blonde can't help but nod as they all stand. I know. Can't hurt to try though. By this point, all of the Uzumaki felt like no matter what, they had an advantage no one else could match. So why worry? The group restarts forward, drawing the attention of the other ninja ahead of them. Within seconds they were within speaking distance of the other group and coming to a stop before them. The other 3 on guard while the Riptide team was less so. Ino continued to take the lead. Look, I'm gonna get straight to it. You're from Kumo, yeah? The man nods slowly. Dressed in Kumo's typical grays and purples, he was a dark-haired but bright-eyed man well-muscled in his 20s. On his back was a long straight sword with the hilt peeking over his left shoulder. My apologies ladies, yes I hail from Kumo. My name is Juno, Juno the Sharp. He eyes all 4 of them up and down before frowning. Azushio is a long way from here. Mighty lost, you are. Hinata leans in to whisper to Ino, the boy has a collar that's saturated with chakra and laden with seals. Some of which are explosive. Leaning away as Ino subtly signals with a finger, Hinata keeps an eye out for traps around them. Ino can't help but grin behind her mask. Funny. We got an invitation to be here from Kiri. Somehow I don't think you've gotten the same. Hinata picked up where Ino left off, seeing Juno edge forward slightly. It's a wonder what a Kumo nin could be doing here. With what looks like captured nin under his control as well. Curious that. Juno frowns, turning halfway to his followers. Leave us, complete your mission. You know what will happen if you try to run Gurren. Make sure you and Yukimaru don't disappoint me further. The woman, dressed in a heavy coat tied closed with light rope and long brown pants with her blue hair tied up, bowed lightly to him. As you wish. Come Yukimaru, we have work to do. The long-haired blonde boy dressed in clothes matching hers nodded from next to her, and both began to sprint away. Stepping further into the path to block the Riptide team, Juno grins while edging his hand up to his sword. You'll have to get through me to get to them. Kumo will have the biju. His sword comes free. I'll be more than enough for you Azushio scum. Stepping forward alone, Hinata waves the others away as well. I'll take him, you three go on ahead. She had enough frustration to work out. Ino can't help but frown at the long-haired girl now standing ahead of her. We should put him down together and then go. Hinata shakes her head, and risk them getting to the Sanbi first. Don't worry, I'm more than enough for this one. Ino watches the firm stance of Hinata for a moment longer before nodding and turning to Karen and Honoka. Let's get a move on. Hinata will catch up. Hinata turns back to them and gives them all a thumbs up. Don't worry, I'll make this plenty flashy. Ino sighs as Karen and Honoka begin to sprint away. Don't pull a Mr. 9 please. Then she was off and away, sprinting after her sister wives. Juno frowns and attempts to intercept the trio trying to leave, only to be intercepted by the faster Hinata. Sword being deflected by a gauntlet-covered hand, he got the feeling the woman before him was grinning. I'm going to take my time slicing you apart. Hinata shrugged, lowering her stance a bit more. You'll try. I'm going to help remind you why the world feared the Uzumaki so much once upon a time. She jumps away as Juno slams a foot into the ground where she was standing. Another hop and she's carried away further as an explosion rocks the next space she would have been standing. Whistling, Hinata chuckles, explosion release him. So weak, you have no flair at all. Juno leaps towards her, sword beginning to dance through the air. I'll show you just how powerful I am woman. Bending with all the flexibility she had, Hinata rolled backwards and watched his sword sing through the space her neck previously occupied. You may try, but you're much too slow I think. Hinata considers things as Juno continues to aggressively pursue her. His sword was always arcing for a killing strike, while as they weaved between trees he would occasionally palm one in an attempt to catch her in an explosion. Having dealt with Naruto for so long, it was easy both to see what he was attempting and avoid it with margin to spare. Internally she sighed, this really was a boring fight. Would you like for me not to use chakra? I could give you a handicap. Handy, Juno growled low in his throat as he pressed his attack even more. You dare when you've been retreating this whole time. Watching as again she twirled away from a downward sword strike before a quick shunshin carried her away from an explosive landmine, he considered briefly that she hadn't been damaged at all so far. You cowardly bitch. I'll have your head. Faster than he could follow, Hinata slid inside his guard as he thrust forward in an attempt to skewer her in the liver. Fingers glowing with chakra, quick strikes rendered his back arm useless within a breath while Hinata was already floating away to bounce on her toes. Oh, silly me. This is a fight not a dance. I do need to strike back once in while. Watching the long-haired woman bounce back and forth, Juno sheathes his sword and grunts in pain. So she was a Hyuga was she? Fuck, did that mean Konoha was involved? No, she was absolutely wearing an Azushio id. Curse her. Hyuga trash, of all the. Oh number. You misunderstand that. Hinata offers him a mock curtsy. I am absolutely an Uzumaki. She holds up her left hand where there sits a rather impressive ring with a blue gem. My husband treats me very well. Knowing he'll need to keep his distance, Juno mentally decides to forego further explosive attacks or kenjutsu. Whatever male in bride, I'll end you here and send your body back to Azushio with a note. Stabbing his working palm forward, Reikyu. Balls of lightning flash forward in an attempt to strike Hinata, but she's already on the move. Hinata laughs, voice echoing through the trees as her enemy continues to try and hit her with one of his lightning-based attacks. I have to say, flipping through the air to land sideways along a tree in order to rebound off, she watched as her previous perch was reduced to tinder. While powerful, you're just so slow. My husband is much more of a challenge than this. How about we call it a day and you surrender before I have to hurt you? Juno couldn't believe it, switching from the lightning balls to consecutive lightning bolts in an attempt to fill the air with enough projectiles to hit the agile woman. His anger finally reached its peak. How dare this woman belittle him so? He was Juno the Sharp. The man capable of slicing cleanly through steel and boulders alike. He had been praised by the rakage himself. Will you shut up about your limp dick husband? If he's so great, why isn't he out here then, huh? You sound like a frost-born whore. Mood instantly shifting, Hinata turns her full attention to Juno. She knew enough about his character now and she wouldn't feel bad about what was about to happen next. Not bothering to dodge his next attack, another lightning ball, and instead smashing it away with a chakra-covered fist, Hinata pointed at him directly as a dark aura surrounded her. I'll make you one promise. For insulting my dear husband, I'll pick you apart bit by bit. Frozen in place, Juno can't help but feel like he was staring at the visage of a demon come to life. What was this terrible aura she had about her? Where was this chakra pressure come from? I'd like to see you try. There's a moment as chakra visibly wafts off of her body, before in a blink she is well within his personal space, a chakra-covered finger coming up to his midsection. Okay. 6 jabs to the legs lock him up and freeze him in place, muscles fighting against each other which she was sure within moments every bone in his legs would be broken soon. Another 3 jabs shut down his other arm, and there, the woods are filled with a meaty crack as indeed his legs broke in multiple places. Already screaming in pain and beginning to fall, Hinata continues her attack. 2 last jabs to his midsection shut down chakra production and his liver, before he is dropped screaming to the dirt. Sighing and putting her hands on her hips, Hinata stands over the writhing man, so dull. Barely even a warm-up. RGGHG. Tears streaming down his face and blood leaking from his lips, Juno wouldn't be offering any other comments besides screams for a short while. Now is that any way to speak to a lady? Use your words please. You're a big boy aren't you? Juno was delirious with pain as the muscles in his arm were still fighting each other due to whatever it was she did. Within a breath as he fought and failed to control his still constricting legs, his arm shattered into a dozen pieces. You bitch! Screaming into the night air, Juno's mind was quickly overcome with pain. Hinata was soon squatting down over him, pulling her mask up with an odd shine to her eyes. Oh dear. Looks like I don't have a lot of time with you. Guess I better get to interrogating you properly then. So, a kunai was in her hand, its edge glinting in the moonlight. Why don't you tell me what Kumo has been up to this days? More screams filled the woods after that, tinged with the scent of blood. Ahead of Hinata and closing in on their own prey quickly, Ino, Karen and Honoka are hot on the trail of Guren and Yukimaru. They can just barely make out the lake connected to the sea where the Sanbi was most likely located, and they put on some extra speed. Ino motions to the both of them, break off and head straight to the water, complete the mission while I take care of them. Karen sighs, are you sure you'll be okay on your own? Ino nods, I may not be a powerhouse like Tayuya or super sneaky like Hinata, but I'm no slouch, let me tell ya. I'll be fine, honest. Karen salutes her as she and Honoka begin to jump away. We're counting on you and don't do anything stupid. We can't take care of husband without you after all. Ino smiles behind her mask and waves him off. You know I'm more than just a pretty face. I'll be smart so go on now. Watching the pair race away, she keeps an eye out as ahead of them the taller woman, Guren if she remembered correctly, turned back in an attempt to intercept them. Ino launched several senbon her way, stopping her in her tracks as she saw the attack and dodged, letting Karen and Honoka race ahead uncontested. Hey now, you wanna fight? You can fight me. Frowning and sizing up the blonde who decided to get in her way, Guren turns just enough to see Yukimaru out of the corner of her eye. You have a mission to complete, get to it. But Guren, but nothing. We don't have a choice, go on, I'll be okay. Yukimaru looks conflicted, eyes darting between the two women about to go into battle, hands clutching his jacket tightly. He's surprised when the pretty blonde woman winks at him. Don't you worry, I can tell you care about her, so I won't rough her up too badly. Guren frowns as Yukimaru takes another few seconds before rushing away towards the shoreline. Her attention now fully on her opponent who apparently though very highly of herself, you're full of confidence. Ino nods, inspecting her nails and buffing them lightly on her black tank top. I was going to say, that was big of you, trying to make sure the kid was out of the way. You must care about him huh? Guren lowers her stance, beginning to circulate chakra through her body. Without him, no one will be taking the Sanbi. Already she moved one hand behind her back, pink crystal shuriken forming between her fingers. Ino shrugs, earth chakra circulating through her muscles with the ease of long practice. We'll just have to find out, won't we? Deciding to take this serious from the start, much like Hinata, she removed the gravity seals along her body in a flare of chakra. You know, you aren't a Kumo nin, why fight for them? Guren's frown deepens as she launches her opening salvo of crystal shuriken at the other woman, dashing to the side and continuing her assault. She sucks her teeth as Ino deftly twists and bends around the projectiles with ease. That's none of your concern. Several hand seals made, she grounds herself before welling up more chakra than before, chasing Crystal Dragon. Frowning at the monstrosity heading her way, Ino can feel instantly that this was a deadly attack. Filling her fist with chakra, she resolutely punches the dragon in the jaw, sending it away but only producing cracks along its head and length. Whistling at the integrity of the jutsu, Ino can't help but feel like she might be in for a real fight here. This is strong stuff, this a bloodline. She was curious, but already had an idea of how to end this. Her mainline techniques all dealt with the mind after all. Guren smirks, taken in by the energetic blonde as she dodges a brace of launched senbon in return. Not many alive can ward off my attack, I guess I should acknowledge your strength for that. Adjusting her chakra and bringing the crystal dragon back around for another attack run, she sends Ino on a spree of dodges and chakra-aided evasions. I wonder how long you can keep this up, little girl. Watching the dragon head back her way, Ino jumps high over its head and watches the attack gouge a trench through the ground where she had been standing. Another fist comes crashing down along its back that only produces more spiderweb cracks, and Ino frowns. This thing was tough, but, as she continued to dodge and bat the chakra construct away from her, she begins to notice a pattern. Guren could reinforce her technique with chakra, repair the damage and turn this into a war of attrition. She was not doing that, however, instead content to waste chakra and watch Ino make a mockery of this fight. Curious. You know, you don't strike me as the type to follow the orders of someone you don't trust, much less like. Guren nods without meaning to, watching Ino deliver another earth-shattering punch that finally shatters the crystal dragon and sends shards raining all over the area around them. We are ninja, sometimes we don't have a choice in the matter. Several new hand signs made, Guren smirks, dance of the crystal lance. Several spears made of crystal formed out of the ground and launched towards the weaving and dodging blonde. Ino shook her head, a chakra-laden fist smashing and redirecting the spears headed her way. You're human, aren't you? You always have a choice. Fed up with dodging and feeling like she had the measure of her opponent, Ino hit the ground in a roll and placed both hands flat in the grass, Dotten, earth spears. Much like Guren, several spears made of earth were launched through the air. Guren saw the attack for what it was and stomped a heavy foot into the earth, crystal wall. Ino sighs, all this talent. Why work for Kumo when you could easily strike out on your own? Guren sighs, weathering the continued assault, you don't understand. Kumo came in and raided the sound base and took over easily. Watching the crystal wall begin to crack, she leaps away into the trees as Ino finally smashes through before pursuing the frustrated woman. I had to watch over Yukimaru, no one else would. We're connected in a way I couldn't explain to you right now. Ino nods, senbon streaking through the air to intercept hastily thrown crystal kunai. Sounds like you're a decent person in the end. My character doesn't matter. Guren grunts as a senbon grazes her shoulder. Forced to dive lower among the trees to allow herself to pick up some speed, she continues their banter. The Kumo nin figured me out. Put an explosive collar on Yukimaru to force me to work for them. If I so much as breath wrong, he's dead. And I can't have that. No, I've done enough to that boy. Memories ran through her mind, a village on fire, a woman covered in blood and Orochimaru's cold laughter filling her ears. No, she'd done more than enough. Ino nods, another brace of senbon launched in an attempt to take down the distressed woman without further combat, which was deflected with ease. I get it. Sounds like something Kumo would do. Ino sighs as she rolls around a tree trunk in order to use it to block several crystal kunai from striking her. Wanna clue me in? Should we expect more Kumo shinobi in the area? Guren shakes her head as the earth in front of her forms into a fist that attempts to capture her. Another crystal dragon forms and both smash against the other and cancel each other out. The only Kumo nin left is Juno, a high jonin on par with the Raikage's most elite. The rest have returned to their village. Ino nods, a quick shunshin helping her reposition. You know, that means we could help you. My sister is going to make short work of that guy. Leaving you and Yukimaru alone out here. Ino sealed away her senbon launchers, knowing by this point Gurren wasn't going to be caught by them and instead considered her next move. Think about it. It's not like we know you. We're here for the Sanbi and that's it. For all we give a damn, you and Yukimaru can go free about your business. Finally locking onto the echoing voice of Ino, Gurren summons a massive amount of chakra and pushing it into the ground, forming several crystal pillars that rise into the air and destroy everything in their path. You're forgetting about the suicide collar. Another shunshin taking her away to safety while she watches the wanton destruction. Ino can't help but sigh heavily. My husband is a master with seals. It'll be child's play to remove that hack job for him. Hell, my sister wife might be able to do it by now. Hesitating after seeing her attack didn't connect at all, Gurren frowns as she searches the area for the muscled blonde. That would mean I'd have to trust you, and I can't say that I do. Gurren frowned as she started to feel sluggish and her arm that was grazed by the senbon wasn't responding as it should. Poison. Grunting, Ino amplifies her voice to bounce it off of as many surfaces as possible. Look, I get that, really. But I don't have time to keep playing with you. So either you'll need to figure it out or I'm gonna put you down. Choice is yours. Holding up a hand, sparks trailed along her fingers as she mentally began to decide on what technique to use. Gurren can't help but grin now, thinking on their fight so far. Sure, the landscape was torn to shreds and several trees had been uprooted, but she had the Azushio woman on the run this whole time. You haven't gotten close to hitting me once yet. Maybe if you show you're even half as strong as the Kumo ninja, or me, I could agree to work with you. She flexed her hand on the affected arm and sighed. It was getting harder to move by the minute, so she'd need to finish this quickly. Unseen and smiling, Ino nods though she knows Gurren can't see her. You should have relaxed and taken my earlier offer. This might hurt a bit. Jumping out from behind her tree and twisting to point her index finger at the surprised Gurren who was less than 5 meters away, Ino smirks. Bang. Lightning arcing from her fingertip to smash into Gurren's forehead at the speed of light, and the other woman is down before Ino has the chance to touch down on the ground. Ino watches as Gurren's body convulses for a moment before coming to rest, giving it another few seconds before deciding that Gurren was well and truly knocked out. Walking over to the older woman, Ino unseals rope and begins to bind her for transport. You're strong, but not that strong. Hands and ankles bound together, Ino finishes her work by slapping a suppression seal on Gurren's chest before picking her up and tossing her on her shoulder. Woof, you're pretty heavy. You're fit, aren't ya? Taking a look around, Ino starts to make her way towards the shore and where hopefully Karen and Honoka have made their way by now. She can feel a familiar chakra signature coming up to her location and heaves a sigh of relief. Sure, she didn't think Hinata would have gotten taken out, but it was still good to know for sure. Coming up to her side, Hinata can't help but give the woman over Ino's shoulder a once-over. Oh, thinking of branching out, huh? I would have thought one of us would have been your first pick. Ino rolls her eyes. Hush. That was, well, not one time, but you know you're my first choice. Suddenly bashful, Hinata nods with a giggle. Ah, well, yes. Right. Sorry. Still, it's rare to see you being forgiving. Hinata herself was just finishing tucking away a scroll into her jacket pocket. The sealed away body of Juno ready for transport to a bounty office. Ino is curious about that. Was he any good? No. Really weak actually. How about you? Things okay on your end? Gurren is pretty strong. Her bloodline is unique and well suited for combat. Her and Yukimaru, the kid she was with, a former sound ninja. Hinata interrupts her, a dangerous glint in her eye. Oh. So we're taking them for interrogation then? Ino shakes her head, holding up a hand to calm Hinata. No number. Something tells me there's no love lost for Orochimaru here. Between Kumo using them and the snake using them, I think they might be ready for some real change. Ino points a finger to her own throat. That collar on Yukimaru. Kumo design. They were using him to use Gurren. It can kill him on command. Hinata sighs and looks ready to continue the argument but eventually nods. I can take a look at the collar the first chance we get. I'm sure I can get rid of it on my own. Karen can help if I can't. They race along with some silence. each in their own thoughts as they think about their own individual battles, before Hinata smirks as she watches Ino carry the blue-haired woman so delicately. You sure are being mighty careful with her. Ino scoffs, you know you're mighty worried about my sexuality today. You sure you don't secretly have the hots for me? Hinata shrugs, Naruto would love that. Raising a finger to refute that. Ino takes a minute as they jump along the tree branches and stares at the smiling woman next to her. She knew exactly what Naruto would think if Hinata and Ino decided to play around on their own. He would. Damn it, you win this time. Hinata preens and smirks as she flips her hair over a shoulder, you'll get me one day. Maybe she should think about braiding her hair, it would help to keep it out of the way. Both girls break the tree line, landing upon the shoreline and finally able to see the ocean itself. Out in the distance they can see Karen and Honoka still running along the water for their own destination, more likely Karen using her senses to lead the way. True to their own senses, Yukimaru is here and fretting about at the water's edge. No boats were here and the boy certainly wasn't ninja trained. So water walking was out of the picture for him. Coming up to him and gaining his attention, his eyes land on Gurren while Ino holds up a placating hand to stop any forthcoming protests. Ino gently lays the asleep Gurren on the sand, she's fine, I just had to knock her out. Come on, you can see for yourself. She watches as the boy looks between her and his caretaker, before he rushes to Gurren's side. She's tough and a good fighter, but we have no intention of hurting her or you from here on. Yukimaru can't help but snipe back at her as he can't get Gurren to wake up, says the woman who hurt her. Hinata chuckled, he's got you there. Shut it. Ino sighed and leaned down, poking at the suppression seal before after a few moments Gurren's eyes began to flutter. I meant it, she's only knocked out, see. Moaning and slowly moving her head from side to side, Gurren struggles to open her eyes. Seeing the bleary image of Yukimaru above her, she can't help but sigh, ugh, I lost. She accepted the tight hug from the boy, not like she had much of a choice with her limbs still paralyzed. Ino nodded, sure did. Wanna fill him in on everything that happened. Ino kept her eyes on the Uzumaki girls. They were spreading out, most likely they had found the Sanbi's sleeping spot. With any luck they would be done soon. Gurren only sighs and turns tired eyes towards the worried blonde boy, whatever they've told you, it's the truth. They mean us no harm so long as we stay out of their way. Hinata turns towards them, pointing at the collar at Yukimaru's throat. I can take a look at that and most likely remove it if you'd like. Yukimaru blinks surprised eyes at her, still having a hard time trusting the pair, but more than willing to see this bit of leverage gone. You do that. Hinata is already walking towards him, Byakugan active, absolutely. Leaning over to poke and prod at the device, she frowns and clicks her tongue, shoddy work this. Sure it's got the power to kill you, but just about anyone could set this thing off. Poking at specific points where arrays met and drawing seals along its surface with her fingertips, it was with little effort that the collar begins to break down before finally crumbling away. Easy peasy. Ino had been watching and was curious about her ability to draw seals with her fingers. She hadn't seen anyone else do such before now, what the heck was that? Hinata shrugged as she stood up straight while a delighted Yukimaru pawed at his throat. I've been working on adding my understanding of seals into my Juken technique. It's been interesting. Sure looks like it. Ino watches as Yukimaru runs to Gurren's side, excitedly showing her his freed and clean neck. There's a roar of moving water and a spray that draws everyone's attention. The Sanbi had surfaced, roaring into the night as three tails thrashed among the waves. Well, ain't he a big one? Hinata sighed, you're devolving. She watches with the others as just as quickly as the Sanbi surfaced, bright yellow and blue chains burst from the water to surround and entangle the Biju. There's a struggle as the beast attempts to fight free, great waves kicked up and water parted like it was a kiddie pool and not the ocean itself. But eventually the Sanbi is brought down to the water level and with a bright flash, soon it is gone, leaving behind Karen and Honoka who begin to make their way back to shore. Honoka now sports a large sealing scroll on her back, a glowing chain holding it in place. Ino notes that, won't it break free like right away? Hinata shakes her head, it's just temporary, her chain will keep it stable until we return to Izushio. Where the plan was to release the Sanbi within the territorial waters and hopefully either Naruto or Fu could talk it down and get it to relax. They weren't looking to seal it away after all, just keep it out of the hands of anyone else. Ino nods as she turns back to Gurren. Well, that's it. We're all done, so you're free to go so long as you aren't gonna try to attack us some more. Gurren shakes her head. Since you removed the seal on Yukimaru, we don't have any reason to keep up the fighting. I'd soon run as far as I can in the opposite direction at this point. These women had beat them so soundly, she couldn't imagine how strong the others must be. No, so long as they were letting her go, she wouldn't be going against them ever. Ino nods, leaning down and removing and untying Gurren, leaving her only under the influence of the suppression seal. Well, we have no need for you and we don't have a habit of going around killing other ninja needlessly. So, unless you're looking to be our enemy, I think we're fine with letting you go. Ino stands, pointing to the paper tag on Gurren's chest as she looks directly at Yukimaru. After we leave, remove that seal and she'll be up and ready to go within a few minutes. As Yukimaru thanks them, Gurren is deep in thought as she wonders at the women that were so willing to let them go. Reasons aside, it was a rare thing in their world to get a second chance like this. She certainly didn't want to squander it. It's a curious Yukimaru still kneeling next to her that brings her out of her thoughts. Where do we go from here? Gurren shakes her head. I don't know. Kumo will surely attempt to hunt us down. Hinata adjusts her weight on her hips, cocking one to the side and placing a hand there. You could always come with us. We're no friends of Kumo and we're always looking for new talent for Azushio. Hinata figured if Ino was impressed enough with her to be willing to let her go, an invite shouldn't be out of the question. We're looking to build a peaceful world, where people can reach an understanding without bloodshed or violence. But we know that that's time and effort, but everyone within our nation is ready to fight for it for as long as they need to. It takes some time for Gurren to think it over. Stay out on the road and possibly on the run from Kumo while trying to protect Yukimaru. Or join a village and gain their protection while having to fight for them, doing what she normally does best. One would allow her to be truly free until death that was sure to come, while the other gave up a bit of her freedom to possibly live a long and healthy life. It wasn't all that hard of a decision. Doesn't sound so bad going with you. So long as you can promise Yukimaru will be safe. Absolutely he will be. Hinata has no problem answering that nearly instantly. Children were heavily protected in Azushio after all. Yukimaru hugs Gurren tightly, earning a grin from the weak woman now helped into a seated position. All right then. Guess we're with you then. Karen and Honoka make the shoreline, hitting the beach and joining the group with groans. That was a lot of chakra to use all at once. Karen pats her shoulder while Honoka gives the others a peace sign with a wide grin. We did it. Sanbi secured. Ino nods. Welp, then it's time to head back. It's a successful mission in the bag. Hinata sighs as the others all direct glares towards the oblivious blonde. Don't jinx it. We have to make it home still. Or we'll be fine. You dumbass. Karen's voice rises above everyone else, though Yukimaru can't help but giggle as Gurren sighs. What have I gotten us into now? Far away under a clear blue sky, the weather was warm with just a touch of humidity that had her clothes feeling just a little uncomfortable but not overly so. Kuretsuki did not want to admit she was lost. In fact, she wasn't lost, the map she had was just wrong. That being said, while she was supposed to be on her way through fire country, the plains she found herself on were oddly devoid of the customary trees that the land of fire was famous for. Still, there was only one road, so surely so long as she continued along her path she would reach a town eventually. This is stupid and shitty. I should have won that fight against the maelstrom. The asshole must have cheated somehow, kicking a rock out of her path. Kuretsuki considered torching the path out of frustration. Where did it all go wrong? Granddad doesn't see my vision. That Suzumbaki bitch was worthless and was only looking out for herself. I need to remember to put her in her place when I get back. Kakuku, oh the things I have in store for her. Distracted as she was, she misses the other person sidling up next to her. Dark cloak with red clouds fluttering as he walked, orange swirl mask gleaming in the sunlight. He seemed content to just walk next to her and listen to her ranting at the ground. At least, until his boredom gets the better of him. Is it normal for you to talk to yourself so much? Freaking out and screaming, Kuretsuki leaps away while clutching her chest. Turning back to taking her impromptu traveling companion, she notes that other than his clothes, she doesn't have much of an idea of who this is. He had some odd spiky black hair and black pants under those robes, but she couldn't make out anything else. It's not nice to sneak up on a woman. There's silence between the two as her silent companion looked her up and down, almost with doubt that made her want to throw a kunai through his face. Especially when he tilted his head in confusion. I'm a woman, damn it. I don't doubt you. Honest. Voice high-pitched and almost childish, the man waves his hands in front of his back and forth to ward off potential violence. Toby is a good boy. He'd never question a lady. Honest. Sighing and getting the feeling this guy wasn't all there, Kuretsuki shakes her head. You're Akatsuki, right? What do you want with me? Shouldn't you be meeting up with Grandad? Rubbing the back of his head and exuding an air of embarrassment, Toby can't help but shrug his shoulders. I'm a bit lost. I'm actually looking for a port so I can travel to the land of water. Nodding as she was looking for a port town herself, Kuretsuki waves a hand in the direction she was traveling before. Well, you're in luck. I'm looking for a port too. I wouldn't mind some company if you wanna come with. Toby nods and holds a hand up high in the air. Toby would love to travel with you. Toby gets very lonely on the road. It's been very lonely since Deidara left. Seeming to pout, Kuretsuki giggles and leads the way. We can swap some stories while we talk. I think we'll be hitting the land of rice soon. Taking the lead, she misses the focused look Toby sends her way with his one visible eye available through the hole in his mask. Land of rice. We're in the land of bears. Does she know where she's going? It didn't matter to him in the end. It'd give him time to extract information out of her while they traveled. No one else would be capturing the Sanbi anyway. He had time. Bearing down on Azushio waters, a fleet captain is ordering his ship to prepare for battle. Hailing from the land of sky, they've been given one mission. Originally they were to crush Konoha for their revenge, but this attack was more about survival. Sure that Azushio would be coming after them for vengeance themselves, they were taking the strike first before the other side struck approach. Pristine white uniform gleaming, thick mustache twitching as he picked up the microphone for the intercom, the bridge fell silent as he readied to address the rest of the crew. This mission is not one of revenge. This is about ensuring the survival of our people. Long ago Sky along with a federation of other nations came together to snuff out the Uzumaki. And yet they have returned. With revenge in their hearts, we have but only one course of action remaining. To crush them completely and wipe them off of the map again. They will burn, so our children can see another day. You all are here to enact that great will, and may the Kami be on our side. Keying the microphone off, he could hear cheers dimly from below decks. From next to him, his second-in-command walked forward to join him as they both looked out of the great windows towards the never-ending fog bank ahead of them. Will we be ready, sir? We have to be. And pray on our souls this is the correct course. 4 ships in total steam together, uncontested for now as they ready for war. From the fog bank a long woman emerges skiing along the waves. She has a confident smirk on her face while her long purple hair whips behind her. A new thick blue jacket with long sleeves, black skin-tight pants that double as a wetsuit and new ninja sandals. Isaribi was taking her new roles as leader of the Undertow group easily. Her smirk can't help but grow as the radio in her ear comes to life. Guess my Hydra gets to come out and play after all. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.